Hey guys, Sean here. Today I'll be profiling my Despia Darklord deck. This is a super cool fusion based deck. Combining the Darklords and the Despias is actually a really good, strong combo. It's very based, it's a very cool fairy deck, so let's get right into it. To begin with, we have double Indulged Darklord. When it's normally special summoned, you can take 2 Darklord cards, add one to your hand, and special summon one to your opponent's side of the field. The only downside is that when you use it, you can only use fairy type effects for the rest of the turn. So only a few cards in your deck are not fairy types, but however you can't use hand traps to turn your activate this effect, you can't use some of your extra deck cards, so just use it sparingly. We only run 2 for that reason, but it can add you any Darklord cards, so it's very important to run it too. Next up we have 2 Darklord Nasten, so you can discard 2 Darklord cards to special summon it, and it has a quick effect where it can use the effect of a Darklord spell trap in your grave for a cost of 1000 life points. So that's the main gaming of Darklords. You'll have Darklord spell traps in the grave, and your Darklord monsters will use the effects of them in the grave by paying 1000 life points. So this is a very life point heavy deck. You have to keep an eye on that, but there are ways to get life points back, so it's not too big of a deal, but just keep that in mind. Next up, double Superbia. If it's special summoned from the graveyard, you can special summon a fairy monster from your graveyard. It's not once per turn, however it is a when effect, meaning that it can miss timing. And it missing timing can come up in this deck because of the effect of your Darklord cards. It's also a level 8, so you can use it for Xyz plays if you need to do that as well. Next up, triple Ixchel. A very important card in the deck. You can discard a Darklord card and itself to draw 2. And it also has the effect where you can quick effect, pay 1000 life points, and use the effect of any Darklord card in the grave. So very important for your combos. Draw power is really good. Its quick effect is very strong. It's also a strong card with 2500 attack. So yeah, definitely run it a tree. Next up we have 1 Darklord Morningstar. So you cannot special summon it, you have to tribute summon it. When it's tribute summoned, you can special summon Darklord cards from your deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. So it can be very good at swarming the board. It can help you go into OTKs. But the main thing you're going to be doing with this card is fusing it into your First Darklord, which is your extra deck monster, to have a board wipe. That's the main reason we run this card, but it has other applications besides that. Next up, 1 Archlord Kristya. It prevents both players from special summoning. It's a fairy, so you can revive it using your First Darklord or your Superbia. It's a very double-edged sword type of floodgate, because when it's sent to grave, it returns to the top of your deck. So if they get rid of this, you're going to be stuck top decking this for a while. And also it locks you out of special summoning as well, so only use this card if you're sure that you're in a position where this actually benefits you. Next up for the Despia package we have triple Aluber. You can search any branded spell trap. It is a dark fairy, so it synergizes very well with the deck. Also, when a fusion monster leaves the field, you can special summon it and then target a card your opponent controls and negate its effects. So it's, you know, a very important card for the deck. We're not going to be searching branded fusion, we're going to be searching other branded cards which help the deck a lot. Next up, 1 Despian Tragedy. When it's sent to grave or banished, you can add a Despia monster from deck to hand. So this can search your Aluber, your Dramaturge, or your Libitum. You can banish this card from the grave to set a branded spell trap from your grave. So it's definitely an important card to run at 1. Next up, 1 Dramaturge. It's a level 8, so it can help you go into Xyz plays. Has 3k attack, so it's a good beat stick. And when it's used as fusion material and sent to the grave or banished, you can special summon it. And then when your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, you can negate a monster on the field. So definitely a great card to have at 1. And finally, for the Despian monsters, add Libitum. If it's used as fusion material and sent to the grave or banished, you can target a level 8 or higher fusion monster that's in your grave or banished and special summon it. Or a Despian monster for that matter. So it's good for reviving some of your cards, can be a good extender, good card to run at 1. For the hand traps, just triple Ash. Pretty much all you need. This is very generic, good hand trap. You can run anything else if you want, but for this deck, 3 Ash is good enough. Onto the spells, we have triple Banishment of the Darklords. Basically your Rhoda searches any Darklord card. Really good, searches anything you want, and you can use the effect twice in a turn by using the effect of your Darklord cards to copy the effect from grave. Next up, triple Darklord Contact. Special summons a Darklord card from your grave in defense. So use this to get out Superbia, and then Superbia can special summon another card. If you try to copy this effect with your Darklord monsters, however, you will not be able to trigger the effect of Superbia because it will miss timing, because all the Darklords shuffle the card into the deck after they resolve the effect. So it misses timing that way. but using this on its own is a great way to extend your combos. Next up, triple branded opening. So this is good for two reasons. One, it can discard cards from your hand, which is very important. And two, you can special summon your Aluber to get your searches off that way. Or you can special summon something like your Dramaturge to have an extender on the field. It also protects your fusion monsters from destruction, which is very good to have. Next up, 2 of the field spell, Despia, Theater of the Branded. It acts as a polymerization. You can fuse into any of your level 8 or higher fusion monsters. And then if one of your non-fusion fairy monsters leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a fusion monster from your graveyard. So it's great for recursion, great for extending your combos, and just a great card to play in the deck at 2. I wouldn't run it more than 2 because you have other ways to fuse in the deck. Next up, 1 branded in red, just a quick effect fusion. You can revive some of your Despia stuff to either have follow-up on your opponent's turn, or you can use it as a disruption. It's a good card to have at 1 because your Aluber can search it, but I wouldn't run it at more than 1. Now we have triple Allure of Darkness. All your monsters in the deck are dark, so you can just get a free draw 2. Sometimes you can banish your Tragedy to get a plus off that. It's definitely worth the cost to draw 2, because draw power is very important in this deck. Next up, double Super Poly. You have a lot of fusion monsters in the extra deck, and also you run Super Poly targets. It's very good at breaking boards, and can also help you OTK by using it during the battle phase. Definitely a good card to have at 2. Next up, 1 Foolish Burial. You can send your Tragedy so that you can search for a Despia monster, or you can also send something like your Superbia and special summon it back to special summon another fairy monster from your grave. Onto the traps now, we have 1 Darklord Uprising. So all the Darklord traps require you to send a Darklord monster from your hand or field to the grave to activate the effect. However, if you copy them using the effect of your Darklord monsters, that effect doesn't apply. With Uprising, you can fusion summon into a dark fusion monster, and it's a quick effect when you use it with your Darklord cards, so you can use this to go into the First Darklord, and if you use Morningstar as material, you can have a quick effect board wipe on your opponent's turn. Next up, 1 Rebellion, basically a quick effect pop, destroy 1 card in the field. Next up, 1 Enchantment, this is Change of Heart. And finally, 1 Sanctified Darklord, which is a Imperm basically, negates 1 monster effect in the field. And then finally for the traps, we just have triple Imperm, pretty decent lineup here of hand traps, 3 Ash, 3 Imperm. You can mess around the hand trap lineup all you want, but this is a pretty tried and true good hand trap lineup. Onto the extra deck now, we have double the First Darklord. While this card's on the field, your opponent cannot target fairy monsters you control with card effects. If it's fusion summoned using the Darklord Morningstar as material, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. And during the main phase, it has a quick effect where you can special summon a fairy monster from your graveyard for the cost of 1000 life points. So it's a fantastic card. It's a boss monster with 4k attack. It's an extender because it can bring back monsters from grave, and it's a board wipe. So a fantastic card. Only needs 3 dark fairies, which is perfect because all your Despia monsters are dark fairies as well as your Darklords. So definitely a good card to have. For the branded stuff, we have a Masquerade. Needs a Despia monster and a light or dark. Your opponent has to pay 600 life points to activate cards or effects. So this can help mitigate the damage you do to yourself because you're also burning your opponent. It can bring itself back from the graveyard if your opponent controls an extra deck monster. So definitely a good card to run. Next up, Despian Quaeritis. Same fusion requirements as Masquerade. You just need a Despian monster and a light or dark. So during the main phase quick effect, you can turn the attack of all monsters on the field to 0 except for level 8 or higher fusions, which is basically all of your extra deck monsters. So it's fantastic at stopping your opponent from attacking you. It can also be used aggressively to lower the attack of your opponent's big monsters. Also, when it's sent to grave, you can special summon a Despian monster from your deck. Next up, Despian Proskenion. So this is a Despian monster plus a light and a dark. So during the main phase quick effect, you can special summon an extra deck monster from your opponent's graveyard or banish it. It can also burn your opponent by, when it kills a monster, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack or defense of your opponent's monster, whatever is higher. It's a bit of a hefty cost, but it can help you win in time. It can help you bring out your opponent's boss monsters from their grave, and it's a very good Super Poly target for lights and darks. Next up, another generic Super Poly target, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Just 2 darks. When it's summoned, you can target a special summon monster on the field and then gain its attack. And also when it's destroyed, you can destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls. Just a very good Super Poly target. Another Super Poly target would be Predaplant Dragostapelia, basically a quick effect monster negate, can't go wrong. Also a good super poly target because it can take away your opponent's fusions. Next up, Guardian Chimera. You're mainly going into this using your Branded in red, but you can also use your Theatre of the Branded to go into him. He can pop cards in the field or he can draw cards. He'll draw a number of cards up to the number of monsters you use in your hand, and he'll pop cards up to the number of monsters you use on the field. So a great disruption to have. For the XZs here we have the number 97 package, so number 97, and number 38 Hope Harbinger, and number 100. So number 97 requires 2 level 8s. You can special summon a dragon from your extra deck using another dragon as material. So going first you can go into Hope Harbinger, which is a spell negate. Going second you can go into your number 100, which is a good way to OTK because it can boost itself up to 9k. Finally for the links we have double Condemned Darklord. So you can discard a card to add a Darklord monster from your deck to your hand or send it to grave. And also you can tribute summon dark fairy monsters by banishing cards in the grave instead. It's very good at getting out cards like your Darklord Morningstar, or just any other cards you want to get out, like your Kristya. And during the end phase, you can gain 500 life points for however many fairy monsters are on the field, including your opponents. So using your Indulged, you can give your opponent a fairy, and you also gain life points for that fairy on the field. So it's a very important card because it helps mitigate the effect damage you're going to be taking using the deck. One Protector of the Agent's Moon is a generic link 2, only needs 2 fairy monsters, and you can tribute a fairy monster to target a card in the field and destroy it. So very good quick removal for the deck. And finally, because it's a fairy monster, Apollosa, you can easily get a bunch of monsters on field to go into a 4 material Apollosa. It's a fairy, so you can always use this effect even under Indulged. It's a good card to use going first. Alright, so that's it for the Darklord Despia deck. Overall, this deck is extremely fun. It's a very fun mix of Darklords and Despias. The two decks mesh very well together. It's a very strong combo deck, you can end on a lot of boards. It's also very good at OTKing. There's tons of different variants you can use. You can play pure Darklords, which is also very fun. You can play Darklords or other archetypes, but this is just one of the builds I think is the best. So thanks for watching, let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any suggestions or ideas for the deck, let me know, and thanks for watching.